Hello, friends and kindreds. Welcome to Sage Thyme. Today's reading is for the sun sign of Sagittarius, and as always, we all have Sagittarius in our natal chart. So find where that fits you, which house and planets and points pertain to you, and that may help you gain more insight in today's oracle reading. So I am using the Mystical Shaman Oracle, and I'll be pulling a central card from the Sacred Earth Oracle. Before we do that, we have a couple friends here that want to join us in the reading. There was a lot of conversation coming through after I drew the first 4 cards from the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And the friends that want to join us today, in particular 2 stones. This one is I'll see if I can bring it to the camera in good light. I believe it's called Feldspar. It's a combination of moonstone and sunstone. And, you know, the obvious nature of it is bringing 2 opposing forces together and the beautiful harmony that can make and create. And you know, that sentence alone is such a pinnacle, like it holds so much meaning and contemplation. That's what I'm looking for. We think of anything from the polar ionic charges of positive and negative that are required to create a magnetism. In the Hebrew tree of life, it is a constant reference, the feminine and the masculine being that yang, that positive force, that energetic, of course in Chinese medicine, the yang, the inertia, the penetration, the yin being the receptive, the negative force, the receiving, the magnetic. And we live in a world, we live in a reality where there is constant duality. And there's a conversation that's going on right now and has been for a few years, especially about duality and transcending duality. And I've spent a great deal of time exploring that beyond even contemplation. And I will say that duality has a really beautiful purpose, just like the word ego that's been terribly weaponized. Ego being personality traits, the characteristics we employ. And when we're aware of them, they're a beautiful tool, right? Just like oppositions, the positive and the negative, the light and the dark, the yang and the yin, they're not one is better than the other. That only occurs, and this is brought up beautifully in Chinese medicine. We haven't even started the cards. It's brought up beautifully in Chinese medicine because they don't see those polarities, and they don't see anything in terms of fault or better than. It's a very hubris, Western European and United States cultural thing of this is good and this is bad. They recognize that if something like, say, the yin, the dark, is to bring concern to, it's not to villainize it, it's generally to say that the yang, the opposition, is excessive. So they see pathology in terms of excess and deficiency. So if you have yin and yang and they're in balance, then there's this beautiful harmony, synchrony, potential of alchemy and co-creation and transcendence. It's not to get rid of the two, it's to bring them together separate and unified at the same time, not homogeneous, not blended so much that you can't decipher the two. And actually, we're just getting right into the reading. That goes perfectly with the first card, the Tree of Life. Often I usually see this card, I think of the Giving Tree And we'll get into this more in just a minute, but this tree was a weave. And it's funny, as I was sitting here with the cards, realigning and getting ready and prepared to do this reading as a clear channel, I kept wanting to braid my hair. I had forgotten about that first card, or not consciously thinking of it, of course. But I kept wanting to braid my hair, and I was seeing all these braids everywhere. And there is this incredible, beautiful, powerful tree that is a weaving. It is a braiding, just like in Celtic and Druidic practices. There is a great understanding of the sacred geometrical and weaving amongst and in between. I feel like I'm going all over the place, and apparently that's part of the weave. That is part of the pattern, is to recognize where the linear and the boxed paradigms are playing an excessive force in your life and creating a deficiency in areas. And have you been villainizing those deficiencies instead of recognizing that there's an excess somewhere? Again, like I said, when the yang is in excess, the yin becomes deficient. Again, in Chinese medicine, every meridian, every organ, every region that they use for recognition and understanding and diagnostic tools within the human body and everything, say liver, there'll be a yin and a yang imbalance if it's a pathological, or stagnation, of course, too. That's a whole nother thing. But when the two polarities that are meant to be unified, working together and yet distinct and sovereign, but in co-creation and collaboration, which requires a giving and a taking and a reciprocity, an exchange, as well as a respect and a reverence for the others and the self's need, and a very strong sense of self-awareness and discernment of when one is giving too much or taking too much, and how to create a counterbalance for both parties of the two spectrums. So Felspar, I believe that's the name of the moonstone and the sunstone. And yep, I have my moonstone on today. And the other one is this beautiful green stone. I believe it's chalcedony. I'll let you look that up. But these two really wanted to join the reading today. They just suctioned themselves. They had their own inertia, and I definitely felt myself as a magnetic pull to those. So what a beautiful demonstration. All right, let's go ahead and pull a central card for the Sacred Earth, from the Sacred Earth Oracle. Pardon me. Wow, I wasn't sure if this card was correct, and I felt my throat tighten and choke up as I was trying to focus in on the image. And then I noticed the figure in there, I believe kind of a feminine figure, had her hand towards her throat, and I'm seeing all that blue for the throat chakra. I'm not sure why my enunciation is getting slurred and blurred today. The caption underneath is reaction. So that's interesting. This deck is somewhat new to me. Sacred Earth Oracle. It'll be listed in the description, both the decks. I love this deck, and this is a new card for me. So, isn't this interesting how it comes together? All right, we'll see how the two may come together more. But of course, with the nature of the lotus flower, there is an unfurling, and there's that restriction again in my throat, but it's less of a restriction and more of a ball that really wants to come through. And I'm noticing now this beautiful chain of beads around her wrists, and I'm hearing and feeling binding. So has there been something that you've been working through or that's calling you to attention that, and she's got these tears coming down, almost like from her eyes and face, but it's an imprint, it's an overlay. Has there been something that you've been working on, Sagittarius, that you're finding has been more than blocking your expression? It's been bringing you into, holding you underwater is what I'm hearing. That water being this sorrow, and it's a grief that has occurred because of a binding that you made beautiful, a binding that I'm seeing ancestors and partnerships. Okay, so here we go. I tread carefully with subjects like feminine oppression and masculine, or masculine oppression and feminine subjugation, not because it's not real, but because there's a lot of wounding, and there's a lot of stories that go with it, and then you play the tape back and into whose fault and who started it and who did it, and you can find that benchmark. But then as soon as you do, you play the tape back further and back and back and back, and we can talk thousands and thousands of years of back and forth between masculine and feminine dominance and how the other gender was oppressed. And so I guess I need to say that, because my videos are never to say there is blame and fault. My videos are always to say, where can we be accountable for ourselves, and where can we hold space for others to be accountable for them by having done the work already within ourselves and creating all of those characteristics, virtues, qualities, aspects, shapes, colors, forms, tones, resonances, and reverberations that further catalyze another person's awareness and awakening so that they can be accountable. And now I'm really seeing that this very much is a feminine and masculine reading. And at the center, it's this awareness of what has been kept from the feminine, what was taken, what was bound, and what is the feminine. And this can also very much reside in men as well. We each have the masculine and the feminine in us. And that is now very, very strongly being brought through me and pronounced, that this is an aspect of men and women. This is not strictly about women, but this is very much about the feminine, the divine feminine characteristic of men and women, and that receptivity, that beautiful emotional consciousness that is passed and carried from ancestor to ancestor, that has the memory of abilities, cosmic connection, creatrix internal cultivation. This is such a beautiful and fascinating reading, because as the 4 cards from the mystical shaman oracle came out, it was a far more simple story in a way of, at first I thought, is this a love reading? I'm not real huge on doing love readings, but when they come through, there's wonderful things to be said about it. And I was seeing these 2 characteristics twisting and turning together, weaving themselves together, rooting deep in the earth of origins. Again, ancestry, these butterflies here on the side above the word life, reminding me of the migration of monarch butterflies into the south. I believe it's in Mexico, maybe Central America, forgive me, where they go back to their home, their true home, this sacred tree. I'm going to have to re-look them up to remember. But it's a returning of home. And I was really feeling, and I am again feeling, this returning of home within the self, with another layer of uniting the sacred masculine and feminine within the self, balancing the yang and the yin, and allowing another opening. Here's the lotus flower, another opening of an aspect that hasn't been addressed yet as a collective. And so this is what's coming in right now. This is what we're working with. And I bet you anything, I bet you $1 that this has to do with Mars in retrograde now through Leo, but then going into Cancer. Cancer being that place of home that is within. Cancer, of course, being a water sign. And as always, again and again, we are all 12 signs, so that Cancer aspect within us, the feminine, the mother, the emotions that are stored in the cellular memory, that we feel and receive based on their electromagnetic resonance, and their electromagnetic resonance being determined and calibrated by, in many ways, the process of transcriptase, from DNA to RNA back into DNA again, and creating a counter resonance with our cells for the ones that are dysfunctional or are resonating in a distortion because of the memories, because of the wounds, because of the bindings. And this is the medicine wheel that we're working with. And I kept hearing as I was meditating on this card, because I thought, what are you telling me today? Is there anything that's more unique than commonly spoken about? And I kept hearing, remind them, or not remind them, yes, remind them that the descent isn't worse than the ascent, that the ascent isn't better than the descent. And I thought, ooh, that's a tough sell. And they were showing me here this part of the wheel, which is, if you look at your natal chart in astrology, this point, of course, being the ascendant, and moving from the ascendant down to the IC. I know this is the midheaven. I'm not sure if I can remember what the IC stands for, but moving into that descent phase, beginning the journey into the underworld. And they really want us to know that the underworld is not a bad place. When we keep our house kept, whether it's our physical house, our body's house, our emotional consciousness house, we keep our vessel open to receiving new downloads. Our hardware is clean and cleared and purged and renovated and renewed when needed. And when we allow our vessel to keep updating and upgrading and releasing what no longer is, then the descent it's a beautiful opportunity to play with the interface of the physical realm, which is a place where we get to experience the heights of love and its counters. And we get to see who and how we are in those dynamics, in those polarities, in the hard versus the soft, in the appreciation versus the dissociation, in the negligence versus the absorbent and awareness, and how those extremes can be both toxic and awakening, and how they can come together and make something beautiful. So then on the other side of our central card is the staff, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in this final card, the council. And again with the staff, there is a weaving, but I was really focused on, I saw there's a turquoise stone at that third eye point at the top of the staff in the skull. And that turquoise stone, like, as I was looking at the card, it moved down into the eyes and like blasted forth the color of the eyes, which isn't apparent on the physical card. And turquoise, again, to me, is a stone that is used and represented with the heart chakra, but it has those blue tones, and so it's connected, of course, with the throat. But it's a turquoise is a energetic that is so soft, but not weak. It's this powerful soft, like the embrace of a mother or a grandmother. If you've ever gone up to a woman or a man who has really strong and confident and whole feminine characteristics, and you can be hugged and held by them, and there's this strength and softness, strength in the softness, and that's coming through this power staff that is a weaving of, once again, polarities, and it's being pounded into the ground always. The staff connects the upper worlds and the cosmos, boom, into the ground. It roots itself. You see? And you're rooting a part of you that has a voice that is powerful and strong and has just immense, again, power, and yet it is so soft and embracing and enveloping, but not drowning. It doesn't suffocate or drown others, nor yourself, because you've already gone into those depths, or you're doing it now more and more. The depths of those waters, and allowing yourself to feel the depths of those emotions, reminding yourself that it is safe to let the full force of those emotions all the way in and bear witness to them with compassion, with clarity. I see you, I feel you, all aspects of me. Come forward, open, blossom, bloom, unfurl, and then boom. It's coming from you, through your eyes, more so now more than ever, than through your cosmic connection that comes through the third eye. So it's moving from the third eye into your own cultivated aspect, which occurs in your heart. And yeah, here we go. You are the council. You are the council, the divine cosmic council of guides, wisdom. You are the container of that. You are the directive and diplomatic convergence zone of all of those voices, perspectives, views, experiences. You are the central place where all of that information, experience, emotion, power comes through you, and you get to anchor it in your heart, disperse it, direct it, navigate with it, and then share it, reveal it, create with it for others in a way that works for you, from the purest, truest sense of you, that works for you and this world as a whole. And then, of course, this is the council. We're talking huge cosmic energies that you have been, I'm hearing, bombarded with for a long time. You can see all these wings in their background, from the shoulder blades to the top of the head. There's a halo of horns bringing it in. So many sources that the influence that these different council members, shall we say, these different entities, beings, and they connected with you because of who you are. So you pulled in different types of beings and consciousnesses, and you decided and deciphered, nope, that's not for me. That's a little too this. Yeah, that resonates. I can work with that. Okay. And so there is a multifaceted, multilingual, I'm hearing. And bilingual, by languages, I mean you speak languages that don't necessarily have words or sounds or sentences. And you know what I mean if you have been learning those languages and you've been bringing this into your heart, into that quiet space, and that quiet space has become a part of your daily. It's who you are now. You are this incredible, peaceful calm. And I look at this figure and they are so beautiful. And maybe not characteristically by any apparent obvious, but the experience of beholding them, the experience of beholding you is becoming beautiful for others. And it's because you are furthering and furthering your blossoming, your blooming of your polarities, your divine masculine, your divine feminine. And with each layer that you open and unfold, there's something. There's a little something more to work through that you kind of have to choke over, and that's okay. This is not new work for you. You've done this. And now you get to represent this. You get to move through all the cycles of all the seasons, fully open and receiving, as well as exerting and giving back. And you can do that with straight face or straight gaze and full, I hesitate to use the word confidence because that almost brings in, again, that hubris sometimes. It's an assertion of self that has no attachment to being better or worse or good enough. And yet it is also highly committed to the code of ethics that you've kept with yourself this entire time. I know there's a better word for it, but code of ethics that are anchored in the place of clarity, wholeness, compassion, development, growth, balance, those types of things. You have a really strong wholeness, holiness. It's incredible. And I believe you're really feeling that come and go now more and more. So it's something so much more tangible within you than an ideal, than maybe what you got when those initial downloads started coming in. It's becoming a very visceral, in that sort of tangible way, experiential state of being. And oh my goodness, it's beautiful. You guys, where you are going and what you are doing with this and the work that you have endured for this, I cannot thank you enough. What a gorgeous reading. Right? Feldspar. Boop. There we go. And green chalcedony. I think that's it, you guys. Thank you again, always, for being here, for showing up and being present and listening from those deep, loving, authentic, whatever that is, spaces within you. Thank you for the likes and the subscribes and the comments. It's very supportive to me. It helps me grow, and it helps the channel grow too. I wish each and every one of you the love that I feel for you, that you know that is there and you feel it and know it as true. And I trust that we can co-create with it and make beautiful flowers out in the world that blossom for others to see and serve as a template for them to further navigate their more whole selves in their lives. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Blessings.